Okay, this is problems numbers 1 through 5, chapter 9 through 10, practice test for MAC 1114. Okay, in problem number 1, they give you two vectors. One of them is in this direction. It's called vector B. There's another vector called C, which goes in this direction, and they ask you to find the resultant vector. Now, if you're using the parallelogram method, all you have to do is draw an X and a Y axis, affix the terminal point at the origin, running in approximately the same direction as they've given you. Affix the terminal point of the other vector also at the origin, and then construct a parallelogram. So moving parallel to side B would be this vector. Moving parallel to side C would be this vector. And then the resultant vector, or in other words, the sum, is just the diagonal that goes from the origin to the opposite side. So this represents B plus C. Okay, and that would be choice A on your practice test. The only choice that you were given that goes in that direction. Problem number 2, you were given a vector of U as 8, 4. And then you were also given vector V as 1, 8. And then you were asked to find negative 4 times U plus 9 times V. Okay, so what you're going to be doing is distributing in this case. It would be negative 4 times the front component, which is negative 32, and then negative 4 times the back component, which is negative 16. So there's negative 4 times U. And then you're adding that to 9 times V. So that's 9 as your front component, 72 as your back component, after you distribute the 9 to the front and the back. Then in order to find the sum here, you're going to add the front components together, which is negative 23. You're going to add the back components together to get 56, and that's your final result. Okay, number 3, you are given a vector in ij form. They call the first vector vector A. It's given as 3i, which can also be written as 3i plus 0j in the ij form, or you can write it in component form as 3, 0 using the vector notation symbols. They also give you vector B in the ij form as I plus j, and you can also write it in component form as 1, 1. Okay, then in this problem you're asked to find 6 times vector A, which is 6 times 3, 0, and you're going to add that to vector B. Okay, so this ends up being 6 times 3, which is 18, and 6 times 0, which is 0, and then you're adding that to 1, 1. So it's front plus front, which is 19, back plus back, which is 1, and this is your final answer. Okay, that was your final answer there. This was your final answer in number 1. Going to problem number 4, we get into finding the horizontal and vertical components of a vector. In problem number 4, they give you the length of the vector as 7.5, and these are the symbols that they use for length, or magnitude as it's called. The direction angle of the vector is 59.1 degrees. You're asked to find the horizontal and vertical components. This is the formula for the horizontal component, or what they call the A component. And it's just r cosine of theta, and as we know, cosine is associated with anything of a horizontal nature. And then if you want to find the vertical component, its length of the magnitude. R in this case is the same thing as magnitude. They just use different symbols for it. And then you'll use sine of theta, since sine is related to anything vertical. So we're going to go x is equal to the magnitude, which is 7.5, times the cosine of 59.1 degrees. You're going to want to make sure that your calculator is in degree mode. And then here it'll be 7.5 times the sine of 59.1 degrees. Okay, I'm going to round this to the tenths place, each of these answers. If you're unsure about what to round to, you can always ask me during the test. So 7.5, again, make sure you're in degree mode, times cosine of 59.1, and I have 3.9 for the horizontal component. And then for the vertical component, 7.5 times sine of 59.1. And that is 6.4. Okay, number 5, you're pretty much asked to do the same thing. It's just that they give you the same information as they basically gave you here, only they wrote it out in words. Here they just call it the magnitude, and they tell you that it's 7 instead of using the symbols for it as they have here. And they also give you this, only they write it out in words and call it the direction angle. And they say that it's 17. This time they've asked the question in this form that they want you to give the vector in this form, but that's the same thing as saying find the horizontal component, which is this A value, and the vertical component, which is the B. So you're literally being asked the same question. So horizontal component, and this B is your vertical component. Okay, so again, we'll use those same formulas. When we find X, we're really finding A. So it's the magnitude times cosine of 17 degrees. They've asked us to round it to 3 decimal places here. And then the Y is R times sine of 17 degrees. I'm using the same formulas that I used in problem number 4, and you're actually finding B by finding Y. So put this into your calculator. It'll be 7 times cosine of 17 degrees, which is 6.694. And that's actually your A value, which will help us to write it in vector form. And then B is 7 times sine of 17 degrees. .047. And then if you collect these numbers together in the form of an IJ vector, it would be the I, 6.694 I plus 2.047, which is the B value, times J. Okay, and this is the finished answer right here. Okay, that completes one.